I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Punch Drop. It's Wednesday, July 2nd. It is our final show of the week as we are taking tomorrow and Friday off, so we will make this one of the worst ones, okay, just for you. We do the Daily Punch Drop every single day live. We're consistent. It's always at 10 to 11:30 every single day on Twitter, also on YouTube, and on the Puck Sports mobile app. Download the Puck Sports mobile app, too. Your smartphone today, iPhone, go to the App Store, Google Play Store for your Android users. And you Android users, I've heard back from you. Jacob, the app guy, is working on it. We're discussing things Monday, and we'll get the little bugs fixed just for you. Now, once the show is completed at 11:30, everything goes up there on YouTube, the Daily Puck Drop. You can find it there, Puck Sports. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Hit the like button, just all of those things. And if you're more of that audio person, of course, you can find it on all your favorite podcast platforms. Does not matter which one you use. And we put everything up at pucksports.com. All right? We're broadcasting from the Limback Lumber Studios, as always. Contractors, they're going to take care of you. They got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest. And again, a firm handshake, paper receipts, a paper trail, old school service. Why? Because they damn near been open for 100 years. And Paul, who works there, I think, has been around for 100 years. Give him a call if you want your lumber needs taken care of by the professionals who aren't going to jerk you around. All right? And you know what? You're going to be in there. You're going to order. You'll spend another 30 minutes just shooting the shit. Because that's the people they are at Limback Lumber. 206-782-3487. And visit them online if you'd like at limbacklumber.com. Of course, you can follow the show on all the social media platforms. Puck Sports on Twitter, on X. Oh, that is the same thing. I just keep calling it Twitter. Blue Sky, Instagram, Puck_sports on TikTok. And you can, of course, find us on Facebook. And again, everything up at pucksports.com. Access to all the content. Sign up to be a member of the Pucks Posse. Again, we deliver all the free shows plus all the added bonus shows as well, like this week's Sports Pit. Full Ryan Divish, that is already out for Pucks Posse members. We'll play a portion of it during today's show, but the full Ryan Divish, Havre, Montana experience only available for Pucks Posse members. No go-to guy today, in a way. Go-to guy isn't here live with us today. This son of a gun made me get up at 5:30 this morning to tape a segment with him because he's going to his other job, which, of course, is his golf marshal job, by the way, which I believe he's not being paid for that, just free lunch. And the best part of the whole story is, so we get up, and I wanted him on because we're not doing a show Friday. And he just wrote the column that he just wrote came out on he made a top 10 list of Seattle sports radio shows, and he put it up on Jim Moore, the go-to guy, Substack.com. I think he also wrote it for the Tacoma News Tribune. So we wanted to talk about it, but then he was like this was, I think it was yesterday. Hey, I can't. They want me to come work Wednesday. What do you want to do? I'm like, well, I don't want to tape it at night. I'll get up in the morning. I got to tape Divish this morning early, too, because he's going to Canada, so we'll just tape early. So 5:30, which is too early. Good God. But he sends me a text later at I don't know, 8 o'clock. Man, you wouldn't believe it. I didn't have my phone on me, but 10 minutes before 6, Dale over at Quail Run sent me a note saying, hey, don't worry about today. Don't got to come in. Hey, so Dale, it's not even for Jim. Dale, F you. F you, Dale, and Quail Run. Making me get up at 5:30 this morning. Good Lord. I slept like 3 hours. I don't know if everybody else's neighborhood is like this. And I really don't understand why our neighborhood is. But why is it Little Baghdad? I know it's the 4th of July coming up. I get it. but we live in the city. It's just like houses everywhere. We don't live in the suburbs. We don't have cul-de-sacs. We don't have open space. Nothing. Just rows of houses and cars, and it's tight. Why are there bombs going off every single night? I thought we were under attack last night in Ballard. I'm telling you. The other places like this, I mean, I know T-Town can be like this, but my God, unbelievable. So you're going to hear from the go-to guy coming up momentarily because we taped it going through his top 10 sports radio list, which is fantastic. Now, and then coming up after that, Rob Staton is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. That's right, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Our good friend Rob Staton is going to come on at the bottom of the show to talk about, one, I haven't checked in with him a while since kind of the season got over, and then we kind of take a break, and then we pick things back up in the fall. But he wrote something, a little blurb at SeahawksDraftBlog.com about Geno Smith. About thank God we don't have to deal with the Geno Smith social media drama again. And I saw this video the other day, and I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell. Well, I knew it wasn't fake. What I couldn't tell was this is from a long time ago. You know, all these videos nowadays, you have no clue anymore on social media. So I have no idea. But he was acting just like a complete jackass. Turns out this was recent. He's coaching like a 7-on-7 team. And he's just arrogant, and he's just talking about money that he's made and all this stuff. And Rob's premise and what he wrote about it, I so agree with what he had to say about Geno Smith. I think he and I probably disagreed about his play, but what he touched on here was spot on. Also, I just wanted to catch up with him. I mean, we've got about 3 weeks away from the start of training camp, July 23rd. It gets underway. So we just want to touch in with him before the season gets underway, and a perfect day to do it. And I like to remind him that coming up on Friday, we like to celebrate our independence from you people. And we're going to remind him coming up bottom of the hour. Also, our MLB Insider Ryan Divish will come up. We'll play a portion of that. That full podcast is available for Puck's Posse members, by the way. Sign up today at pucksports.com. 30-plus minutes. We give you about 11 or 12 minutes of it. Good stuff, just talking about I have a theory why so many people on social media, Mariner fans, are so upset with Ben Williamson. I got a theory about that, and Divish and I discussed that. Also, Geno Suarez and the Mariners as a whole, and we keep talking about them trying to chase Houston. There's a team right behind them. And if this team catches them, it's going to be one of the most embarrassing things ever for this Mariners organization. They sputtered last night real quickly on the M's. 6-3 loss to the Royals. Again, the offense, I mean, they're now 3 games over 500, but the offense, was double play city last night. They were 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. You had Solano in the 6th inning. Hitting into that double play after Polanco had walked and Rosarina got a single. 7th inning was the biggest one that was just a head scratcher. Back-to-back walks by Moore and Williamson. I understand the crowd probably at that time. Did you want to see Cole Young lay down a bunt and move the runners over? I think this is where you play percentages, you play feel. I liked personally the decision to let Cole Young hit. He's been hitting the ball well. He's been getting the balls through the gaps. It's not like he's hitting for power, but he's putting the ball in play singles. He's got good speed. You would think he wouldn't hit into a double play, but boom, he hits into a double play. JP grounds out. Game's over. Raleigh was 0 for 4 strikeouts. And now you are going to hear it today by just the jackasses in the world. See, this is why he can't do the home run derby. Because before the game, he took BP with his dad. His dad, Todd, was there. And by the way, shout out to Todd. I would never mess with Todd if I ever saw him. Todd ever did something like you bumped into him, I would just say, excuse me, nice to meet you. I will sit down. Whatever. Even if you were wrong, Todd, you're right. That is a big man. And the other observation from the game last night, watching it, where were his seats? Could they not have got him better seats? It really seemed like he was just kind of sitting with, like, I don't know, the common folk. Could we get him Diamond Club or something? I mean, my God. But you're going to hear this crowd today just say this is why he can't be in the home run derby. He's tired, and he did all this extra swinging before the game, and he went 0-4 strikeouts. It ruined his swing. Guarantee it. I will put anything on it. You're going to hear that today and tomorrow. All right, so that's what's coming up. That's the rundown. We're going to talk to the go-to guy here in a second. So if you haven't read it, Jim Morris wrote a piece on his Substack site. And because he can't promote it, I promote it for him. Jim Moore, the go-to guy.substack.com. And the title of his latest piece is Who's on Your Top 10 List of Seattle's Best Sports Radio Shows of All Time. So before he was going to work today as a golf marshal, I said, hey, if you can't come on live, let's tape something because I want to talk to you about this. How you came up with a list? Why are we ranked so low? Why didn't you put us on the list? And you kind of put yourself a little high on the list as well. Here is Jim Moore explanation of his top 10 sports radio list of all time.
Well, this guy owes me a lot. He's got me up real early in the morning to somehow talk about this list that he put together. I thought the gas man was the only one that did lists. Jim Moore, the go-to guy. Substack.com. See, he still doesn't even know his own website. Who's on your top 10 list for Seattle sports radio shows of all time?
Well,
boy, you must have been really desperate to do this.
Why is that?
It just we couldn't come up. How about top 10 dogs of all time? Don't you think people would rather read that than what the top 10 sports radio shows according to the go-to guy? Don't you think they'd rather?
Okay, well, let me ask you something, wise ass. Did you read it?
Yeah.
Well,
I
did?
skimmed it. Of course I read it.
Okay. All right, when you do a top 10 list, it seems like people maybe will click on it. I'm trying to build traction for my website, so maybe I can have some supplemental income.
You trying to build your brand?
Yeah, trying to build my brand and remain what is it? Relatable and relevant.
Relevant.
Yeah.
Well, next coming up tomorrow, top 10 Seahawks of all time.
I mean, come on, listen. Okay, you're giving me a hard time, and I can take it. Unlike Jerry Dipoto, I have thick skin. Okay, you just rip away. You rip away if you want. I thought about it, and I thought, okay, let's see. Sports radio in Seattle started in the 70s.
Yeah,
it's kind of a 50-year mark for sports radio in Seattle, and why not do a top 10 list of the best shows? I had a hard time coming up with a top 10. I feel kind of bad about two that I left out.
Okay.
And those two are...
Who are the two that you left out?
Yeah. Locked On Sports with David Locke. And I wasn't a huge fan of that show, to be honest, and so that's why I left it off the top 10. But it seems like a lot of people like the show.
Why were you not a big fan of David Locke?
Well, I like David personally, and so I don't want him to take it the wrong way if he happens to stumble onto this podcast.
Oh, well, you can forget about it.
He's made so much money doing that Locked On Sports Network that I don't think he's going to waste his time listening to you.
You can forget about a future on Locked On Sports now.
I was in Park City once. My kids had a baseball tournament.
Sure.
And he came up to me and asked me if I wanted to do the Seahawks Locked On podcast.
Yeah,
and Corbin Smith ended up doing that, I believe.
Oh.
And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. I won't say 4 thought about it because after 3 thought about it,
you're out.
I thought, God, Jim, you can't. No chance you could do a daily podcast. No
would be
chance.
Phenomenal if you were the daily podcast host of Locked On Seahawks.
No, it was. I called him. I said, Dave, I can't do it. I knew me, and I knew that I wouldn't have the wherewithal to do it.
Okay, let's hurry up because your time is limited. You made me get up at the crack of dawn for this.
Well, you tape with everybody else, God. You tape with Egan. You tape with Divish. So make concessions for your buddy every once in a while.
Hey, audience, 5:45.
Well, so what? Wait till you're in your 60s. You wake up at this time every day.
Okay, you said the.
Oh, and the other one was the T-Man. I thought the T-Man, and it was short-lived because he went on to Cube, I think, and he went on to Stardom and went on to be a professional gambler. And I don't know what he's doing now, Rob Tepper, but I sat in on a show of his one time, and I also listened to his show. It was pretty late at night, I think. It was like 9 to midnight or something like that on KJR. And he was just a talented guy, terrific, funny, crude, obnoxious, all the different things you're looking for in a sports talk show host. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm looking for.
All right, so let's get through the list of this before you go, because you're going out to do an emergency golf marshal job today over there.
I woke up this morning and go, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? I'm supposed to be retired, and I'm running around, like what is it, chicken with a head cut off or whatever.
Yeah, I love it. Number 10. You have
gone with 10, I went with Ian and Puck because you guys are fellow Cougs and I love you both. And I just thought you guys are both talented. You're both funny. You both have a nice, complement of substance and entertainment. And you don't take yourselves too seriously like a lot of people in this business, which I appreciate.
Be honest. Was this just a pity selection?
It wasn't a pity selection at all.
Why number 10? Feels low.
What do you mean it feels low? You could be 11 and not even on the list.
Yeah. There's some shows.
So you said you had questions. Is that one of the questions? Do you even question? Do you question whether you're good enough to even be on this list?
Fairly. No, it's really where we're at. Fairly low.
Where do you think you should be?
Fairly, probably 1 or 2.
1 or 2. Really? Maybe 7 or 8.
7 or 8. All right. Number 9. This is going to be I think this is going to be controversial for a lot.
Okay, maybe so, based on the comments I've gotten. John Clayton, the Saturday show, both at KJR and at 710 ESPN Seattle.
Yeah.
John Clayton's a legend to all of us. We all miss the professor. And was I a huge fan of his Saturday show? No, but it just seemed like so many people were. And I just thought, yeah, I got to have the professor in there. And some people thought it was too low.
Well, that's what I mean by controversial. I wonder if people think it's too low. Now I'm not going to would ever say a ill will towards John. I love John. And he was in rest in peace. And his wife, Pat, the nicest people. I mean, I used to work Saturdays there. I did updates at KJR when he was doing the show. She'd bring in donuts every Saturday for everyone that worked there. Would take people out to the shanty across the street for breakfast. But he wasn't everybody's cup of tea. It was a lot of football. And if you ever veered off football, started talking Mariners, people were like, the callers. See, people didn't like the callers. I loved them because they were characters and they called every week.
Well, my favorite was Irish Minky.
Of course.
Mr. Clayton.
And he'd keep them on like a segment. It'd be 15 minutes a caller would be on. He's asking them questions, interviewing the caller.
Yeah, there was a guy in Federal Way, I think, that always had to be the first one.
Well, then there was Commando Dave.
Yeah.
There was an entire, what I enjoyed about it was an entire, characters that were on his show. So I like John. John always had fun with it. And John loved it to death. But I wonder if some may think he should be on the list at all. And some may think that he's a little low. Now, number 8, I have no idea who this is.
Oh, J. Michael Kenyon. He was on KVI, one of the first ones with Wayne Cody to do sports talk in Seattle. And Puck, you would have loved this guy. He was a little before my time, too. He worked at the PI, he covered the Mariners. But when you think of someone who's a character, J. Michael Kenyon is at the top of the list because he was an offbeat guy. And he danced to the whatever those sayings are about dancing to your own beat, your own drummer, all that kind of thing. He was that guy personified. I mean, he was just so much fun to listen to and so much fun to read. If you can ever read something that he wrote, he was just terrific. He was entertaining, amusing.
He was a reporter for the PI that covered the Mariners?
Yes. Yeah.
And then did a show with Wayne Cody. See, why is Wayne Cody? Because I always thought Wayne Cody was the first one in this market to have really a sports talk show.
Well, you might be right about that, and I might be wrong. I thought J. Michael, J. Michael was right in there. I'm doing a Substack post. It's like I don't have to answer to any editors. I might be a little off on that.
Okay, number 7, you talk about fucking serving. Number 7.
Why'd you have to throw the F word in there? It wasn't self-serving good enough?
Good Lord.
Okay, Danny David Moore. You're right. I'm sheepish about this, shameless about it. It just seemed like there were enough people that liked that show that I thought, you know what? I'm going to throw my own damn show on there at some point. And so I threw it in at number 7. It seemed like it. Puck, when we were doing this show, though, we were 2 newspaper guys, Danny O'Neill and myself, and then a former football player, Dave Wyman. And really, literally, day after day, I thought, what? We'd look at each other and go, and Dave Pridemore, our boss, threw us together, and it seemed to work for a lot of people. And so I thought, what the hell? I'm going to go with it.
All right. Number 6 on the list is.
Well, I was reluctant to put them on the list because, I'm not a big fan of Mike Salk, but they've been around for 17 years, ever since 710 launched sports talk format in 2009. Brock and Salk, the morning show at Seattle Sports.
You have them above the show that we did. In fact, I don't see us on the list.
What, you and I?
Yeah.
Well, I could only be self-serving once, couldn't I, with the list?
Fair. All right.
I mean, and you're the okay. Let me praise you for a second. You were the talent of all the Puck and whoever else you worked with shows.
There was a lot of people.
You were with Ian. You were with Chuck. You were with Slickhawk. You were with Cliff Averill, and boy, that was fun. Cliff was great with the Seahawks analyst, whatever. The Mariners stuff from Cliff was, let's just say I was a little better than Cliff at talking about the Mariners.
Barely. I'll just say this. I've worked with a lot of people. It's a lot of people over the years. I think Gas was in there for a while, too.
You never had to write out questions for me, okay?
I've had to hold your hand for a lot of things. I'll tell you that.
You got mad at me once, though, when we had that, whatever her name was, Samantha from the Kraken. You were really upset at me that one time.
Oh, Holloway. Oh, that was a good one. All right, that's another
No, but
show.
Listen, wait a minute. Before you move on, I know I need to get going.
You gotta go.
I know.
Lord.
But you were the talent of all those people you worked with. You were the one who carried us. Yeah. Okay?
Still number 10, though.
Well, it's still not 11, though, either.
Fair point. All right, number 5 on your list is?
Wayne Cody was Sportsline on Cairo. Wayne Cody, bigger than life, literally, figuratively. Yeah. Everyone loved Wayne Cody. You just couldn't help it. Just this large human being, big bellowing voice, and just a zest for life. Wayne Cody was, Puck, you would have loved him.
Well, I watched him. I grew up watching. I watched him.
What, doing Sonics games with Jim Marsh?
I watched him
on Cairo doing the
Cairo.
Sports.
Yeah,
fantastic. And he was a pioneer in sports radio, and I felt he certainly deserved to be on the list.
Number 4 will be interesting because I actually maybe think this is too low. But number 4 on your list is?
Too low at number 4, Nancy Donnellan, the fabulous sports babe. When she came to the Seattle airwaves, I thought, man, who is this? And then the more I listened to her, I'm usually not a fan of that kind of style where she's in your face, but she grew on me really fast. And I think she was something we haven't heard here since.
No. And you wrote about it. Her best line, let's go to Rich Boy in the car phone. God, I love that.
Well, because back then people didn't have cell phones.
No, it was the phone numbers were whatever the blah 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 blah, and then pound 950 on the car phone. Let's go to Rich Boy on the car phone. God, I love that. Oh, it was so good.
And then she just ripped the guy.
Oh, she was. For anyone that did never listen to her, she was unbelievable. How good she was. Unbelievable. A performer. Completely opposite off the air of what she was on the air. That was her multiple personalities. That was a different person. It was Nancy off the air, on the air. It was the fabulous sports babe, and she turned into a wrestling character, and it was just I mean, it was great.
I couldn't get anything out of her privately when I tried to write about her. I just knew she had a daughter, and that was about it.
Number 3 on this list. Oh, you want to talk about obnoxious?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Pretty reluctant to put Dave Softy Mahler number 3, but I think it's justified. I mean, the thing is that whatever you think about Softy, he's never boring, and you don't want to be boring as a sports talk show host. And there's plenty of boring hosts out there, and he's the opposite of that. And I love the guy. I mean, the guy, he's not always that, guy on the air that's in your face and yelling and screaming and, purple and gold and all that crap. He's really down to earth, good guy. I enjoyed working with him and seeing a different side of him.
Great personality. And the thing about him that he does, people don't know enough about him. I mean, God, let's just, we'll grease him up here a little bit. Just a big heart off the air. Like he'll do a lot for people off the air and behind the scenes. All right, number 2 on your list. He's still at it, by the way, with his unbelievable, world-renowned, successful podcast.
Mitch Levy, yes. I know that, of course you're going to say that because Mitch Unfiltered is a highly successful podcast, and he's partnered with somebody named Jason Puckett doing some, Mickey Mouse Pucksports.com podcast. And so you're kind of riding his success a little bit, aren't you? Trying to help.
Oh, for sure.
You out.
Absolutely. Riding his coattails to make my candle bigger. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, Mitch Levy, without question, one of the best interviewers ever in sports radio history. I don't care where you're talking about, whether it's the country or Seattle. And then Mitch is funny. He's entertaining. He has substance. He always had great people that he interviewed, and he's still doing the same thing at Mitch Unfiltered. And I love the guy. I've always listened to him. I haven't, ponied up the $5 to get his extra shows, but I always listen every Monday with Hot Shot Scott. They do a great job.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, interviews top notch, content unbelievable. One of the best, if not the best storyteller I've ever listened to. He and then came up with one of the greatest Seattle sports contests of all time. It should still be around. The Bigger Dance. Nothing better. Nothing better.
No way.
Nothing better than that contest.
There is no way the Bigger Dance would fly now. Oh my God.
Probably not. Number 1 on the that was terrible drum. Number 1 on your list is
number 1, Gras with Gas. How could you put anybody but Gras with Gas at number 1? Those guys, they were just terrific, weren't they? Afternoon drive time at KJR for however many years they did it. I think 10 to 13 years, somewhere in there. And just great guys off the air too. And it was appointment listening when Gras with Gas were on.
Yep.
The Gras with Gas males, everything they did during that show was fun, entertaining. They had great camaraderie, chemistry, all of that. And you put it all together and they're number 1 on my list. So they're probably number 1 on most people's lists, although there's been some arguments about Mitch and whether he should be on top.
All right, I know you got to go for the golf marshal duties. Thank you for waking me up early in the morning to do this. Have fun today.
Was that worth it?
Probably not. I mean, if I'm being honest, not really. Not worth it for me to get up at 5:30 in the morning. Hey, enjoy the rest of your week. No shows Friday for everyone. 4th of July, we'll take it off. We'll talk to you on Monday. All right? Have fun down there.
All right, man. Thanks for putting up with me. I appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. Go Cougs.
Yeah, go Cougs. See you, bud.
Here we go. That was it. So this idiot made me get up at bright early in the morning to record that and then find out that he wasn't going to work as the golf marshal today. That's son of a... And again, it's not Jim's fault. You know whose fault it is? Dale at Quail Run. It was his fault. There it is. The Jim Moore, the go-to guy's top 10 Seattle sports radio list of all time. God, people do. My buddy Ryan sent me a text. Everyone loves lists. I mean, Gas wrote a whole book about lists. Everyone loves lists, especially this time of year. Everyone's got to come up with a list. He wrote about it, so he's been working on it for a bit. You can read it there's a little bit more detail about all of the selections, and I think even the people that he left out. The comments are good. At some point, maybe he might want to turn the comments off. Jim Moore, the go-to guy.substack.com. Therefore,
the go-to guy who, again, was not with us live today. Thought he had to work early this morning. He's like, can we tape in the morning? 5:30. Just, man, it's already been up for 5 hours. This is way too much. Way too much. All right. Well, we have he has been gone for a while. I can't wait to see him again. It's like when we last talked to each other. It's like signing the yearbook. Hey, have a great summer. Don't change. And I hope he hasn't changed. I'm expecting him not to have a beard and not wearing any Seahawks gear. I wanted to talk to him about a little post he wrote recently about Geno Smith. And then I was thinking, oh, it's July, 3 weeks away from training camp. Let's check in with our good buddy who joins us during the football season, Rob Staton from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. All right, I'm going to close my eyes. Seahawks gear, no, and no beard. Son of a God, he's got it all on. He's got Seahawks, he's got Mariners, still has the beard. How has your summer been, sir?
Very busy, yes. We have a lot of nonsense going on in the sports scene over here. So I've been having to cover that. So yeah, it's been eventful. And I'm flying to Spain next week to go and cover one of the other teams, which sounds delightful, but it'll be a lot of work. So so very busy time, very busy.
And you got the kids, and now you got to arrange. The summer is worse than school year, because the summer you got to arrange all these camps and everything for them.
Yep. So they're going on a camp. So they finish school in two weeks, I think it is 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh my God, they're still in school.
Yeah, they're still in school till late July, and then they're off until September. And yes, we do all that stuff with camps and making sure there's people to look after them and all of that. Yeah.
When do they go back to school? Like what?
First week in September, I think it is. I think it's like I don't know what day that is, like the 3rd or something, is it? I think
they don't really have much of a summer break, do they?
No, they have 6 weeks. They have 6 weeks off from July to the end of July till September. And then when they go back, I'll be flying to Seattle for the first game of the season. So
this is going to be what a treat. Just solo?
Yes. Oh yeah, I can't bring them with me because one, they'll well, they have to start school.
How about your beautiful bride? Maybe she wants to leave the kids.
Yeah, well, she probably would do, but no, we did go away once without the kids, and she spent the whole time missing the kids. So she probably wouldn't want to do that, especially because I'm gonna go to the Seahawks game. I need to decide whether to go and take in some college football. The Huskies are playing on Saturday, but they're only playing. I can't remember the team they're playing, but it's one of those. It's like UC Davis or something like that. So
sure. Yeah. Well,
not really feeling.
Be over by half. You'll be fine.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So I don't know about that, but then I'm going to go watch the Mariners on Monday before I fly back, and I'm kind of hoping. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I'm hoping that there's something at stake for the Mariners in that game when I'm over there. That they're still in the race for the wild card. Maybe.
All right. Well, let's see. I know we'll talk before then, but let's make sure we somehow cocktail or meal something.
Yeah, cocktail. Boy. Always. I mean, I had one or two too many cocktails on Friday, just gone. So I'm practicing already.
Hey, I was looking through, it's your Twitter feed and everything has been, you're dealing with a lot of football stuff, soccer stuff over there. And there's not a lot of Seahawks stuff, because it's kind of downtime right now. And then and I saw this video, and this is why I reached out to you, because I saw this exact video. And I was just saying earlier, I didn't know if it was like real. Well, I knew it was real, but then I'm like, was it recent, or is it one of these things like on social media where it's like from a few years ago or something? And then you wrote about Geno Smith. He's at a 7-on-7 camp. That's what it turns out to mean. I guess he's coaching one of these teams, and he's just obnoxious. He's going after somebody on the sideline, and he's doing the thing that is the most narcissistic and arrogant thing you do. Basically bragging about how much money he has. And then you wrote about how I'm just so glad we don't have a quarterback that's on social media now. And Sam Darnold apparently is not. At least we don't think he's on it. He could be at some alias. But you wrote about Geno Smith, and you and I, we've discussed Geno a lot over the years. And I guess it's a bigger topic, that not so much Geno Smith, Rob, and I'm curious about what it's like over there for athletes in Europe and London and all that. The presence on social media and then wanting to be so active on it, and especially like Geno Smith is. Very active on it, gets very defensive on it, and as you wrote, and I agree with you, especially his tenure here, spends way too much time going back and forth with fans.
Well, he does. I didn't enjoy his online presence when he was the Seahawks quarterback, and often would share DMs with friends and other people in the media, collectively rolling our eyes at the latest Geno Smith, either sort of subtweeting something or hinting at something in an overly dramatic way, which then leads to everybody speculating as to what he's talking about, or just having a go at a fan or something that he'd seen that he wasn't happy with, or he just kind of felt a little bit like, have you not got anything better to do? And I know I speak as somebody who argues regularly on social media, and people may say, well, what a huge hypocrite you are. But the point is that I kind of have to be on Twitter and X because the journalism job requires you to be on that app constantly, all of the time. It's basically an app for journalists and for people who want to consume sports news, politics news, or whatever. That's where you kind of have to be now. So I don't have any choice. But I can tell you now, if I was an NFL quarterback who had got the bank balance that he was so vociferously telling everybody he has, there's no way that I'd be on there arguing with fans. And one fan with about 90 followers who was a Seahawks fan said he needs to check his ego. And it wasn't the only criticism in the replies to Geno Smith. And he decides, I'm going to single this guy out. And that he's going to make a point of quote tweeting it so that all of his 150,000 followers can see this. And that just can create a pile-on. And I think you have to be careful as professional athletes because you don't know what that person's life is like, and that could have a really damaging effect on that person. And for what? So that Geno Smith can have his say on social media. As it happens, Puck, he deleted that tweet the next day, probably because someone either told him to or because he decided it wasn't a good look. But this is what I mean. I have to say, stuff like this makes me dislike Geno Smith. And there were times during his Seahawks stint where he would do stuff like this. And I just thought, do you know what? I don't know if I like this guy or not. I don't know if I'm not sure he's for me. And whenever he's playing for the Seahawks, you want him to do well. You want him to succeed. I'm not disappointed that he's playing for the Raiders now. And when I had a look on Twitter to see if Sam Darnold had an account and found that he didn't, that was almost too perfect for me.
It's you mentioned the criticism of someone saying, "Well, you're on social media all the time," and well, yeah, but it is based because of work and what we have to do, and it's a way to follow things and gather news. I mean, I use it just to gather news, and that's my main thing, and and promote shows and all that kind of stuff. I very rarely go back and forth because you're never I learned this a long time ago. You're never going to win anything on this platform. You're just not. It's never going to happen. Someone's going to put their feet in and plant them, and they are not moving off of that. And that's the thing is no one's saying that like an athlete like Geno Smith can't be on it, but it's the going back and forth, and it's just not healthy. Not healthy for him to spend, or any athlete to spend that much time on something like that. And I wonder, if that part of that, I know you detailed in your story and about what Brady Henderson had wrote at ESPN.com that, did it start to affect, I guess, maybe behind the scenes and questions about maybe his leadership at that organization?
I think there is something to that. And I think the team possibly, not directly with this, I mean, not the sort of stomping down a sideline, yelling at somebody, that's why they paid me the big bucks. I mean, congratulations, Geno. If he'd said that over here, by the way, someone, as I said in the piece, would have told him to take a running jump. I mean, you don't get away with that in England. Stomping around telling people how much you weigh. It doesn't matter who you are. Like the biggest soccer player in England could stomp around telling like that. No one would accept that. No one will be saying, you tell them or anything like this. No, you just don't do that. And that's why I found it really cringy. But I think that kind of side to his personality probably did act as a bit of a turn-off. And look, Brady's talked a bit about that and on Seattle Sports and has discussed things. I think it's pretty much common knowledge at this point that DK Metcalf did not see eye to eye with Geno Smith. And that was something I wrote about when all that stuff was going on, the trades and stuff. And I think at times Geno Smith did a very good job coming out after a game, standing at the podium, showing accountability, taking the blame. But then perhaps he'd go into the locker room after and he would, call out teammates, and he would be quite pointed in his criticism sometimes. And I just think it's not to say that Geno Smith is a bad person. I'm not going to suggest that because I don't know Geno Smith. I've not been around Geno Smith. But there are just certain things that for me were, just a bit of a turn off. And I thought that sort of episode on social media and the calling out of that Seahawks fan, I did find a bit unappetizing.
And not just one incident with him. And I mean, it's not the Seahawks problem anymore. It's another organization's problem. But I just think it's something that has always, it went from, I'll say this about Geno Smith in Indianapolis, when he did the interview on the field after the Broncos win, was that when he uttered they wrote me off and I didn't write back?
Yeah,
that was a great moment. It was a great moment for a guy in his position in the career that he had to take a victory lap because he deserved it. And I do think like he should be held up to a lot of people, like kids and things, of like never give up on your dream and keep battling and keep going. And you never know when your opportunity is going to come. And but his role of how he gets so enamored with social media, it reminds me he's not on this level at all of a player, and it's a completely different sport. But it's like Kevin Durant in basketball. It's just, I mean, it's way too much time on there. Like it's just get away from it. He spends so much time on it. He has burner accounts, like multiple burner accounts, so he can follow different reporters and people, and then keeps going in, after them. And it just, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of wasteful energy. And I hope Sam Darnold doesn't have some like burner account, like, I don't know what it is,
Well,
redhead QB, at redhead QB or something like that. I'm going to make sure that he doesn't have one, but
you're absolutely right to point out though, that he is somebody who should be sort of looked at as a role model. I mean, this is an individual who, I'm just looking through his contracts before he had the first deal in Seattle that was significant. So, he was on it was an $800,000 when he first came to Seattle, having had $1 million contract at the Chargers. And then it was 1.2 million for Seattle a couple of years. Then he signed as a free agent for 1 year, 3.5 million. And then he ends up getting 40 million guaranteed. And now he's gone to the Raiders and he's got $58.5 million guaranteed. The guy has turned his life around. I mean, he has got generational wealth now. Yeah. A lot of players who are like Geno Smith just fall out of the league and don't do what he's done. So that's taken some spuds for him to get to that level, and that warrants a lot of respect. Some people think he is a top 10 quarterback. I'm not sure I agree with that, but there are people out there who know what they're talking about who feel that way, and I think he does deserve some respect for that. I'm just with you. Same with Kevin Durant. I think when you've got FU money, I wouldn't have an account. Like I'd have better things to do with my life than spend any time. Like I have my phone glued to me all of the time, and frankly, if I'd have achieved, do you know what I'd be doing? I'd be playing golf every day, or I'd be, I'd buy a team, or I'd be going and I'd have a yacht, or I don't know what I would do, but because I don't have FU money, but I would not be on Twitter.
I'm with you. I mean, that leads us into a transition, because now Geno's with the Raiders, and now, and what I want to talk about Sam Darnold. To me, the Sam Darnold this year is going to be so fascinating, Rob. And I know we probably touched on it. We last checked in right around the draft, and now we got training camp's going to open up here in about 3 weeks. I'm not going to read into it too much, but I do believe if you have a fear of Sam Darnold, of what version you're going to get of Sam Darnold, that fear, if you had that fear certainly wasn't squashed when it came to minicamp, at least the stuff that was open to the media, because the people that are there are like, and they did it in a delicate way. Well, he made some nice throws, but he also, first 2 passes were picked off. And then I could hear people, well, the defense knows what's coming. Okay, or fine. Like there was kind of some built-in excuse making being made for him. All accounts, he wasn't sharp. Now, again, is he learning a new offense? I mean, it's probably not a completely new offense by a lot of the same things that he did, but there probably is some new language and all that. But I'm just bringing it up because I know there's a segment of people that just feel like what they got at the last few games of the season is the version they're going to get. And even the version of the guy that was Sam Darnold in the beginning of his career, not the 14 unbelievable game stretch that he had, to start the season with the Vikings. And that's going to be fascinating to watch. Like, where's it going to be? Probably somewhere in the middle, but which way does it lean more than the other?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this. I've seen a lot of the media comments on that, and I've talked to 1 or 2 people about it. I think there may be a few things in play. I do wonder a little bit whether, we've got to remember here that Geno Smith was an excellent physical specimen, a fantastic arm, and is the kind of player with the physical talent to really shine in these mini camps and training camps. And he followed Russell Wilson, who also had a tremendous arm. And you do wonder a little bit sometimes whether a media that has got accustomed to seeing players with that physical ability, maybe then look at someone like Sam Darnold and think he's not as good, and then you've immediately is knocked for that. But I've not seen those mini camps, so maybe it was worse than that. Maybe I'm doing the people who are commenting a disservice by suggesting it's a comparison to what's come before Sam Darnold, and maybe he did just look really bad. I think then the other thing that I would suggest, and this is, I don't know if this is hoping for best or hopium or whatever, but the Shanahan system, which it appears the Seahawks are going to go towards, has been able to get the best out of what I would say are perhaps limited physical quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy's a better athlete than I think any of us thought coming into the league, but that's mainly scrambling around, not an arm. And those players have been able to have a degree of success in the system because the system works. And with Sam Darnold, he has got some physical tools. But I think my sort of hope and expectation for him is just that he can do what he's asked to do, keep things on time. And that everyone hates using the word game manager. But really, if that's what he is next year, I think that's fine. Because I think a lot more of this is going to be about the running game and the offensive line and how they play. And if they can get that going, and if Darnold can play off that, I don't think he needs to be fantastic. I don't think he has to win games with his arm as much as maybe Geno Smith did and Russell Wilson did. So that's kind of the angle I'm taking. But undoubtedly, there will be all eyes on Darnold at the start of this year.
Of course.
And it's going to be a challenge for him, because if he doesn't start well, it's not so much that Drew Lock's there, but people will immediately look towards Jalen Milroe.
Of course.
And I think people who are probably connected to Seattle, or the people who are covering the team a bit closer, probably would temper that. But you know what fans are like, Puck. He's a 3rd round pick. He's exciting. And if Darnold ain't doing it, they're going to ask for him.
I think we discussed this. I think we talked about this right after the draft. And you know this as well as anyone. The second in a training or in a preseason game that Milroe takes off and displays that just unbelievable running and playmaking ability, and then in that same game makes a play where he gets out of a sack and makes a great throw because he's got a big time arm, people are just they're gonna start drooling, and they're not gonna be able to contain themselves. And if it's in that same game where Darnold doesn't look great, but maybe he's not awful, but just kind of looks, game manager like, people are they're gonna start carrying that flag. Now, I don't think it's similar at all to what it was like with Wilson and Flynn, because I think when Wilson came out, it was such it was such a better finished product for Russell Wilson, despite the size and all that. But for Milroe, and then Flynn, I mean, there's a bigger investment in Darnold than there was for Matt Flynn. But I mean, at that time, there probably was considered a good investment there for Matt Flynn. But I don't see that happening. But that doesn't mean that fans won't want to see it happen.
Do you know what I think is encouraging for me, more so than anything Sam Darnold did at his best last year? Because he was playing with the Vikings. O'Connell's obviously an exceptional head coach, offensive-minded head coach anyway. And he got Justin Jefferson to throw to, and then TJ Hawkinson came back, and he's got some other weapons there. So it's a good situation for any quarterback to be in. I think if we're going to try and look at a positive for Sam Darnold, it's the 2022 season when he was with Carolina. Carolina did not have the weapons. Carolina did not have an offensive-minded head coach. They had a defensive-minded head coach. And in the 5 games that he started originally, which included, by the way, a win in Seattle against the Seahawks, he had in 5 games 7 touchdowns and 1 interception, and managed the game very, very well. Now, nobody was watching him and going, wow, what an incredible quarterback who's leading the Panthers, because if they did, he wouldn't have gone to be the backup for the 49ers the year after. He would have got a starting job. He was the facilitator. And what was actually driving the Panthers on during that epic run was the fact they were running for 200 yards a game. And he was just sort of playing off that. And the Panthers defense was fierce and was playing very, very well. And I think that's the model that the Seahawks are going to look for. I went back and watched some of those Panthers games when they signed him to see him outside of the O'Connell system, and was more impressed with the Panthers as a whole rather than necessarily the quarterback. I think if we watch that Panthers team in 2022 at the end of the season, that's going to be the blueprint for what the Seahawks want to play like, that physical style. Darnold produced results without being spectacular in that kind of an arrangement. And I think that's what they're going to be going for.
Yep. And I think really Seattle set themselves up in some, best case scenarios. If it ultimately doesn't work out with Sam Darnold, you can get out. You didn't spend much money at all. And then, the other side of it is if Milroe works, not this year, like in maybe a year from now, gets a little taste of it, but in a year from now, 2 years from now, he's a starting quarterback in the league, and you got him, where they give him, third round?
Third round, late third.
Okay. Just unbelievable. It's a great hit. It's you, if he figures it out and is able to, everyone has noted his work ethic. They've talked about it. He's in there early, staying, studying, soaking it all in. Then they found themselves a real gem. Here's the one thing that I'm going to be intrigued to watch and just kind of see it develop when training camps gets underway here in a couple of weeks, is the wide receiver room. Because this reminds me of the Mariners. There's a lot of what ifs, in this group. Both DK and obviously Tyler had down years. Each didn't get over 1,000. DK ended up with 66 and 992 and 5 touchdowns. Lockett was 49, 600. But you're replacing with Marquez, Valdez Scantling, and then Cooper Kupp. Here's the concern. One, Valdez Scantling, his best season was 3 years ago. And that best season was 42 catches for 687 yards. He's bounced around a bunch of different teams, and I don't know. To me, he's just a guy. And then Cooper Kupp, we all love Cooper Kupp. But we love Cooper Kupp because, in 2021, he's the best wide receiver in the league. He's putting up just unbelievable numbers. Past 3 seasons, he's missed 18 games because of injuries. There is a lot of what ifs and unknowns with this group. And then, of course, JSN, who's coming off his second year and was great. But other than that, I mean, either these guys all hit and it's great, or this could be a real problem in that room this year.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting situation to watch play out. I also think they're going to be a very different team. As I keep saying, I think the running game is going to be so important. And really, for me, you could probably run through any of those receivers and include the tight ends. I think the success and failure of the offense is going to come down to whether this offensive line can get better coaching, and with the arrival of Gray's able, and maybe one or two of these other rookies can get into the competition as well. Maybe they can improve up front. And then can Ken Walker have a breakout year? Or is Zach Charbonnet going to take this job and just run with it as he was threatening to do at times last season? That for me is going to determine everything. And then if that happens, and if you can run the ball very, very well, then I would expect that it's going to be a lot easier to make the most of Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp. And then, the one thing from the Shanahan system is that they have always had a very productive tight end. And, the player that I compared Elijah Arroyo to before the draft, this is not after the fact, was that I see a bit of George Kittle in him, not as a blocker yet, but as a pass catcher. He reminds me of that player that he's inevitable, that he's going to get the ball and there's nothing you can do about it on third down. And that's, when we've faced Kittle in Seattle over the years, that has felt a bit of that. And AJ Barner was a productive pass catcher as a rookie, did better than I think anybody expected as a pass catcher. Noah Fant is still here. So I just think the makeup of the offense is different. That said, it is a league where, some people believe that you're only as good as your third receiver. And I think Seattle have got two good ones, provided Cooper Kupp can stay healthy. The third one is the question mark. As you mentioned there, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a journeyman. He made some big plays for the Saints and for this offensive coordinator last year, but he seems more of a splash player rather than a consistent player. And then you're sort of looking at some of these rookies, can Torrey Horton, what's his injury status? Can he come? I love Torrey Horton as a player and graded him very highly, but is he going to be healthy enough to come in and be a legit wide receiver 3 as a rookie? Is Ricky White capable of doing that? Is a Cody White or somebody going to emerge to take that job? Is there anybody out there who can be added to this roster between now and the start of the season to come and do that? It's a difficult one, though, because receiver is just one of those positions that has just become so expensive. I do think you have to draft and develop players now at receiver. And we have seen great value found at receiver in the later rounds in recent times. Puka Nacua, the best example of that. Torrey Horton could be that kind of a player. But until you find that player, you do just wonder if the one's short.
All right, my friend. It was great to catch up with you. I want you to enjoy the rest of your summer. Safe travels to wherever you're going this summer. I do want to remind you, though, that take a little. I want you to pour yourself a drink on Friday. Okay. Okay. And just remember July 4th and what we did and what we decided to do.
Friday, is it?
Now listen, now it really technically is today, by the way. Today is really when we voted for our independence, July 2nd. It just went into act on July 4th. But thank you to the heroes like Thomas Jefferson and others. We decided to pull ourselves out underneath your monarchy and your pressing thumb on us. And we started a great country. So you really should be thanking us. And I want to thank you for your role in us becoming this great nation that we are.
And you have added insult to injury ever since by refusing to properly pronounce the word aluminium.
Yes, sir. Rob, you're the best. I look forward to, again, our chats there in the fall talking Seahawks football. I encourage everyone to go read and follow Rob, please, at Rob Staton on social media, Rob Staton Football there on YouTube. Please go read his work there at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He is just he's the best in the business at doing it, such passion for it, loves doing it. He fits it in with all of his other duties that he does as well over there. Love it, Robin. We'll talk to you down the road. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Puck. See you soon.
Yep. There he is, Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Again, follow him at Rob Staton, Rob Staton Football there on YouTube as well. Just wanted to catch up with them. Yeah, just, the Geno stuff just kind of led into, I think a larger conversation with athletes and social media and I agree with him. I just think when you have that, I think Rob stated it there, you've got FU money. There's just no advantages of being on it. And if you haven't seen the video, you can just find it. Just, search Geno Smith if you want to watch it. He's going. No one really knows what the context of it is. It's just he's screaming at somebody. My guess it's another coach. Maybe it's an official at a 7-on-7 tournament, but he looks like one of those angry parents going after, an official after a baseball game. And he's just yelling at this person, telling him how much money that he makes. It's just a bad look for him, but it's a bad look for all athletes when they kind of get into that stuff. And for anyone that's in the public eye, and they get into it, not just athletes, I guess. All right. Every Wednesday, we catch up with our MLB Insider Ryan Divish, of course, manager of the year in Montana for the Havre North Stars, where he currently is taking a sabbatical from covering the M's on a daily basis. He's handed that baton off to Adam Jude, Tim Booth, Bob Condota. Boy, they're doing a great job. Some would say maybe even a better job than Ryan Divish. But he stops on by every Wednesday. We have a lengthy chat talking Mariners baseball. We always fit in at the beginning a little Havre North Stars. On this week's show, we get into Geno Suarez, a Ben Williamson theory, the trade deadline fast approaching, ownership's role coming up, and will they finally pull the plug on Jerry Dipoto this season? Doesn't end up with a playoff appearance. Will they even do it if they don't win the division? And there's a team that is right behind Seattle right now. And if they catch them, it would be one of the most embarrassing collapses that this organization has ever seen. Now, full episode is up for Puck's Posse members. Go to pucksports.com, sign up to watch and listen to the full show. But every Wednesday, we give you a little sneak preview of our MLB Insider Show with Ryan Divish, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl.
Team, it's easy to have extreme views when they're not an extreme one way or the other team. Their results aren't extreme one way.
They want to, but fans want to lash out at somebody.
Yeah, I mean, because
I think he's just. I think it's not. He's not a bad player. He's not a bad person. But I think they felt like they were promised this great talent coming up. They don't see it with him, so they're going to lash out at him as a player. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't have his issues. And should they upgrade at third base? Of course, if they can get Suarez, of course, yes, go and do it. No one would sit here and tell you otherwise. But I don't know. Something about his defense the other day. I'm like, I don't agree with it. But
you can nitpick a little bit. But again,
of course, he's not going to be perfect at it.
But that's another thing is like if you look at all that's wrong with this team, it's not Ben Williamson's fault. I mean, I could get the people that are upset that he's been forced into playing in this role because they just didn't go out and do enough in the offseason, and they didn't, they just tried to patchwork it together and say, okay, or that they looked at a 32-year-old guy that has coming off a knee surgery and thought, okay, well, we can play him at third base every day or most days. I can understand that anger, but taking it out on the kid because he's not performing the way you want or whatever. And it's like Norman Dale and Hoosiers. This is who they are. It's not going to change. This is your team. It's not going to change till the deadline. I mean, nobody's, you want Suarez. Well, the Diamondbacks still think they have a chance. So they're not going to just dump Eugenio Suarez now. Of the teams in the big leagues that are pretty much done and out of it, the White Sox, the Rockies, although the Marlins have won 8 in a row. And then, the Orioles should be out of it, but they aren't. The Pirates are out of it. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 teams, you just can't make moves now. You can't get better right now because there's too many teams believe they have a chance. I mean, the Diamondbacks, were they 6 games out of the wild card? And the NL wild card, they believe they can overcome that. Mm-hmm. In the same, people go, why would you think that? Well, the same reason you think that the Mariners could still catch the Astros. The third wild card has evened out the playing field so much that everybody stays in it. It's like Rob Manfred's wet dream and all this stuff.
It's actually 3 back of the third.
Yeah.
3
so
back.
I mean, why would they? They're not going to sell when in this position. You've invested this much money into it. Common sense maybe tells you, oh yeah, they're not going to, and they're pitching so beat up, and Corbin Carroll's hurt and all this stuff. But again, that's it's hard for a GM who's spent all this time putting together a roster to just sit there and say, no, I'm done. Let's sell off.
You brought them up early. Well, and then also I think on that same notion, your partner in crime, Adam Jude, just wrote kind of a mid-season report. What would the Mariners target at the deadline? Decisions need to be made, and the one name that got everybody's was Alex Bregman. Would the Red Sox, because what they did with Devers, would they consider moving Alex Bregman. But I would throw, I'd like to know what the Red Sox thinking is right now.
Yeah.
They're 2.5 games out of the third wild card.
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, they're and now they've made that youth movement, and they could still keep Bregman on. Obviously, he's dealing with the injury, but they could still keep him on. Most likely he's going to opt out no matter what.
Yeah.
At the end of the season. But yeah, for sure, they're not out of it. The Rangers are 2.5 games back. They're not out of it. You can leave the Guardians as well. They're 3 back of that third wild card spot. What would be the most demoralizing thing this year for the Mariners? I mean, one, to me, I think the most demoralizing thing is they can't win the division. They can't win the division this year with the way that team ahead of them, the Astros, was constructed, and then all the injuries that they had. I mean, all of them. I mean, losing their best power hitter, the injuries to their pitching staff, all of them. That's embarrassing if they can't win the division. If somehow the Angels, and you just brought up the Angels with what they're doing down there, if they somehow, they're a game and a half back of them.
I know.
If they catch the Mariners and get that third wild card spot, how fast can you get the USS Mariner barge to get the whole front office out of town?
Well, that's the thing is
how soon could we put everyone on that?
Do you think that the front office feels pressure to win right now? Like, because it's so weird.
I don't know.
Like
I don't know.
We thought last year was like, if they didn't win it, they weren't going to be here. But, I don't know. It's so weird how honestly, I've been covering that team for, I've been covering this team for 20 years, and I don't really know how the ownership works. Now, this is a different ownership group, but like understanding them sometimes, like the one under Howard Lincoln and stuff, they were afraid to tear it down and rebuild. They always just kind of wanted to patch it together and just be good enough. And this one seems to be the same way, but not willing to spend to do that. That they're I think I've called them risk averse. That they want to win, but they don't have the courage to do what it takes to win. The ownership groups. But I don't know. It's just like, what would they do if they don't make it? Would they clean house? I mean, and sure, and Stanton's thinking is like, well, all these guys, we have all these pieces here. That's Jerry put them together. So why would we do that? But I don't know. Part of it
that's what I'm saying. Do you get any sense of that though at all?
No.
Is there any sense of just of who you talk to that, Adam and Tim and these guys, or all your baseball, voices and people that your connections? I mean, is there any sense that if they fail this year, that they would make any type of changes? Because I'll be honest, I'm kind of like you. I think they'd run it back again.
I do too. I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that again. Because again, like, for as much as like people say they're never going to go to games and everything like that, these games this weekend, even against the Pirates, when it's going to be hot and nice out, there are going to be a lot of people there.
Of course.
There will be. That you've seen some of these games on the Fridays, and whether or not they have, irrespective of it's just like bobbleheads or whatever, they're still drawing. I don't think they're drawing at the pace they did last year. Right. They're still drawing. And if this team is in it, if they're playing meaningful baseball in the last July, August, and September, they'll have numbers, and so it's like, fans can sit there and say all this and I'm boycotting this and that. Mariners and most sports owners know that not to be true. Yeah. That if you're competitive enough and if you're putting out, like if you're in it and you have a chance, most fans will still show up because they care that much about the team.
At some time though, but an ownership though, now they've probably lost all good graces with this fan base, but at some point, if you don't do anything this year, how can you, after John Stanton and this ownership group, look at anyone and talk about your goal is to win the World Series?
Oh, I know.
Your goal is to be a championship contending team because, last 2 off seasons, they didn't do anything. And then once again, we're in year 10, and this was supposed to be the year that they all talked about as they continue to push the goal, move the goalpost down. This was going to be the year, and they shouldn't be in this position. They shouldn't be 44 and 41 in this division of all divisions.
Yeah. The Bregman thing is interesting, like you mentioned that. Like, does keeping him around for the rest of the season, even knowing that he's going to opt out, give you a better chance of signing him? I mean, because they just wiped 250 off the books with Devers. Can they just take the 250 that they had for Devers and say, hey, look, why don't we just give this to you?
Well, what is he? I guess that Bregman at his age,
I mean, they're all competitors, right? Is he chasing rings right now? Is he chasing more of that parachute contract to end it? And he loves hitting there, and he's got great success there. If I were him, I wouldn't go anywhere else.
Well, I mean, he just got $25 million this year, right, for playing 1 year, essentially. Yeah. I think
he can get even more,
25 or 30. Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but like they get even like, if 35 maybe.
Well, but I think it was a 3-year 120 deal, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, so 40. So then, like, all I have to say is, hey, look, opted out, but we'll give you this. You know, they could backload it because that's another thing. Like, and I know you mentioned this with Duquette. There's a lockout coming, and the salary structure of now it might not necessarily affect Alex Bregman, but if they somehow sneak in some level of a salary cap or something like that, I think you want to be grandfathered in under the current CBA than the next CBA. So don't dick around, get your money while you can, you know. And realistically, you look at the young base of the Red Sox, it's pretty good. Like they're super athletic and they can really run. Like be that guy, you know, be the leader of that team. And he has that kind of quality. Like if I'm the Red Sox, we're going to keep him around. We're going to try and do everything we can. And like, does keeping him around and not dealing him at the deadline make it easier or somehow help you? I mean, I know he's a Boris guy, so who knows? But that's
and then the other thing you brought, like we go back to Suarez and talking about him and Duquette, is you brought Duquette up, is that, I mean, there is one is Arizona. They don't feel that they're out of it, and they're not. And then number two is, it's not like the Mariners are the only team that need a right-hand hitting bat that mashes.
No, I mean, like, you can go down the list of contenders, and the thing is like now he's in the final year of his deal, so it's $2 million. It's 2 months of the prorated salary. I mean, that's not a ton for a team to take on, and you know, like make pay it out for that much. Same with Naylor, who's a ARB eligible guy. Like getting those guys for the last couple of months of the season. It's an investment, you know. It's basically a mercenary. You're bringing them in to try and win. But yeah, like Yankees. I'm trying to look at who else that would do it. You know, the Cubs. Cubs don't really. They're playing Matt Shaw as the third baseman, I believe. There are teams that would do it. Hell, the Astros would do it. The Mariners have the best prospects to get the best return.
Sure.
So if you're a GM and if you're Mike Hazen in Arizona, you're saying, well, okay, we're going to do this, so we want the best prospects. The Mariners have the best prospects. You can ask the most from them. You never know. The Yankees, in their quest to do this, don't really give a shit about their prospects in a lot of ways. Like, obviously, they're not going to trade George Lombard, their best guy, but like they'll dump a guy or they'll get some. You know, they'll do something to go over the top to get a guy if they have to.
There he is every Wednesday with us, Ryan Divish, the Ryan Divish Experience. We recorded in the morning the full podcast of Divish, available for Puck's Posse members. Sign up today there at pucksports.com, and you will get full access to that show. 30-plus minutes. We talk more about the state of the team, get more into Suarez, more into kind of where ownership is as a group, the future of Jerry Dipoto, the front office after 10 years. Do they care anymore? Is it just about money? Is it just about attendance? So go to pucksports.com, sign up. It's just $5 a month, or you can sign up for a year and you get a discount there if you sign up for a year. If you are watching the show, whether live or recorded, if you take your phone out, that QR code will take you there as well. Big thanks to Ryan Divish. And again, that segment, that sneak preview, part of the Daily Puck Drop. Also, that sneak preview segment up on YouTube separately there as well. And again, big thanks to Chalet Bowl for always sponsoring there, Ryan Divish. And, you know, what we get into a lot, I think, later in the podcast is about the future of Jerry Dipoto and about what this ownership is going to do with him in case something happens where they don't make the playoffs. I mean, they're the third wild card spot. But again, we all know in 2025, what we were sold and told about, and what you as fans were told about, is that this was not the plan to be vying for the last wild card. which I think has them playing the Yankees. This was about winning the division, and this division, as we've discussed here many, many times before, was so gettable for them. I mean, they Bregman gone, Tucker gone. Remember Altuve started the season terribly. Even Jeremy Pena didn't start off great. They lose Alvarez. Looks like they're going to still be without Alvarez because he's got a wrist issue. Now Pena's out. Maybe that will be finally the blow for them. But that's the thing with the Astros. That championship, that winning culture, that DNA, and you can talk about cheating all you want, they've got it. It permeates through that ownership. Doing whatever they're going to do, they will do whatever it takes. And that even is cheating to win. They will try and make something happen at the deadline. Watch out for Suarez going there. And again, with Eugenio Suarez, and it does make a perfect fit for him. But there's, like, as we discussed there with Divish, we go more in depth on the full show with Ryan, and even with Duquette on Tuesday, is there are going to be so many teams out there vying for Suarez if Arizona makes him available. Arizona may say, why would we trade a guy when we are 3 games out of the wild card right now? What message does that send our fan base? So I expect Arizona to go right up to the deadline and then maybe decide, and they may go in. My hunch would tell me that they're going to try and get some help, probably with pitchers, and see if they can make a run at it. That is a good offense. That offense can carry them, despite with Carroll being banged up, nicked up. That offense can carry them the rest of the summer. And for Boston, I would say the same thing for the Red Sox. They're incorporating all this young talent. Do they want Bregman back? They can offer probably Bregman more money than anyone. He's going to opt out anyways. Why trade him? I mean, I guess you could trade him. I guess you could trade him, get prospects back, and have a handshake, wink agreement. Hey, you're opting out of your deal anyway. Just come back here and sign because you love hitting here, and it benefits us. But they're 2.5 games out. The team that would just be so embarrassing for this organization to be caught by would be the Angels, because the Angels just sitting there. They're not like waving the white flag, but they're just bringing up prospect after prospect, like rushing them up there. And I think they're surprised of how much they're kind of winning right now, or at least having some success. And if the Mariners were to fall to that team, that would just be, I mean, I think you can make great arguments right now of a dismissal from this front office. That should be the final nail. But I think Divish and I are on the same path. I think even if they do miss out, that he's back. He has got this ownership and John Staton, around his finger. He has wrapped them up and has convinced them that the way he's doing it is the right way. It kind of goes back to, and I think that's why it goes back to how we started off that conversation, at least in that sneak preview with Divish, is we were discussing Ben Williamson, and there's more in there about Ben Williamson, but like just there's this take on Ben Williamson, and it's another social media take. I think there's a lot of feels like baseball anger towards Ben Williamson about how maybe they view him opposed to how maybe others view him. And rightfully so. You can show stats up there, left and right, detailing his offensive woes and defensive woes. The defensive woes, it's just something I'm just not going to bite on. You can show me everything about his arm strength and range and all that. I sit there and watch most games every single night. I see a guy that plays great defense over there. Great defense. He made a play yesterday, backhanded a ball, threw a missile over to first base. Has he made a few mistakes? Yeah. Sometimes, though, he gets the balls that no one else gets to. No one else would get to his position to make those plays. His glove is, I think anybody criticizing glove is off their rocker. Offensively, power, yes. Totally get it. He's a singles hitter, a contact hitter. He's not a power hitter. And we've talked to Scout before about him. Will that eventually come? I don't know. I hope it eventually comes for him. All right. Big thanks to Ryan Divish and Shally Bull. Again, full episode there with Divish available for Puck's Posse members. Sign up today at pucksports.com. All right, it is our final show of the week. We're off tomorrow, rest of the week. We'll be back with you on Monday. But before we go, I'd like to wrap it up with Hey, What the Puck? Brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online. Restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. It's a very polarizing topic that people get very upset about if you point out. And we did this a few weeks ago. And I'm just going to preface this by saying, I love Julio. Not everyone does. Hell, there's people in our YouTube chat. They're fighting over Julio right now. I love him. I don't think he's reached superstar status yet. I don't think he's reached top 10 player status in the game. I think that there is massive room for improvement for Julio Rodriguez. And this is not piling on for what happened yesterday. He plays Gold Glove defense out there. I don't know what happened with that ball. He lost track of it. It happens. They talked afterwards about the winds kind of swirling around there. He miscalculated. He just misjudged. He I think saw something and then jumped up on the wall and then it hits the wall. He had a gaffe. It happens. But as we enter July, these are the months where he starts to get going. We've looked at his splits over his career. July and August is when he heats up. And you've heard people talk about, all right, now it's time for him to get going. He's a career 296 hitter in July with an OPS of 892. In August, he goes up 320 with an OPS of 917. There is a danger, though, at times of always waiting for that to be the case because maybe one year doesn't happen. It happens to a lot of professional athletes. It happens to a lot of baseball players where they've had this track record, and this is the 1 year where actually it doesn't happen. I think when it comes to Julio, and I think that the level of frustration that I share at times with people, when you're deemed a face of a franchise, forget the money for a second, all right? Just forget the contract. He's the face of the franchise. Despite what Cal Raleigh is doing this year, Julio Rodriguez, if you polled anybody across baseball and you say, Mariners, first player, it's Julio Rodriguez. He's been billed as the next thing in this sport. There are far too many times, and you saw it again last night, and you've seen it in this homestand, far too many times where he comes up to bat with a chance to really hurt the opposing pitcher, make a dent in the game offensively, and he does not come through. Does not come through. He is, in the last month, he's been hitting the ball well. His average, his numbers look good. You peel it away, though, singles. A lot of singles. Single city. Something we've discussed on Monday's show with Bill Kruger. I think a concerning stat line for this organization is through 56 games or opportunities that he's had with runners in scoring position. Julio Rodriguez batting .213. He's slugging .350 with a .651 OPS. That's not good enough. Thanks, Tibbs. It's just not good enough. That is massively disappointing for a guy that is your franchise leader, that is the face of your franchise. And we talk about this all the time, about the ill wills of the other players on this offense, and they're not doing enough around them. They don't have enough pieces. And that is true. But so is your face not delivering offensively. And right now in those situations, he is not. He's not delivering. Can't be the guy and hit .213. When you're up there with runners in scoring position, you can't do it. I mean, I mentioned it before. If you look at, his line since June 1st, you'd say, oh, it's great. I mean, he's hitting .280, but again, .280 fine. But his on base is .310, slugging again under .400, OPS under .700. He's got 33 hits since June 1st. All but 8 are singles. Got a home run, triple, 6 doubles. Now, as we say, this is like the reverse jinx that we did the other day with players. He's going to have a monster game tonight. But it's got to happen. It's got to start happening. And I just like, maybe there's just negative thought in my mind that maybe one year it doesn't happen. But they need him desperately to become Summer Julio. Because if they don't get Summer Julio, this team's going to miss out of the playoffs again by another game. All right, that's Hey What the Puck. It's brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's a restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Give them a call, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Hey, thank you for watching and listening to today's show. Thank you to all our sponsors, Limback Lumber, Chalet Bowl, and, of course, Restoration One. You can find today's Daily Punch Up, the full show, up on YouTube. When you're there, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like it. Leave a comment. Try to get to as many as we can. On the podcast platforms, it's on your favorite podcast platform every single day, the Daily Punch Up. It's up there by noon. Also, you can find all of our work up at pucksports.com. When you're there, sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse, just $5 a month. You support all the free shows, free content that we do. In addition, we give you bonus shows like the full Ryan Divish appearance from today. Every Monday, we release the Sports Pit with myself, Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson. On Thursdays, although there's not a show this Thursday, Mitch Unfiltered, Mitch Levy, joins me on Thursdays there as well. And, of course, now we produce the Garage with Gas Take 5 podcast. By the way, #1 sports radio show listed there by the great Jim Moore. Jim Moore, the go-to guy.substack.com if you want to read it. We produced the new Garage with Gas Take 5 podcast, which you can find on all podcast platforms and, of course, up at pucksports.com. All right, last show for us this week. We will talk to you on Monday. Happy 4th. Everyone celebrate safely and get after it a little bit. All right, it's for America. Get after it. And we'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great break. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!